Chris just coming with hands. All right, and welcome to episode 124 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again is friends. I have all my friends back. Everyone's here. It was starting to whittle down to just me and Steven. I was getting a little worried. But speaking of which, joining me today, we have Steven.
I have a cat.
That's an adorable cat. He was yawning earlier, and it was really funny. Chris.
Hello.
And lastly, Rachel.
It's me.
Yes, we finally threw hands and had a round of Mario Kart. No one walked away without without blood involved.
No.
So, wow, it has been a little while since all four of us have been back together. We've had all kinds of things going on, from family emergencies to family trips, or just not being here. Either way. So let's jump into what we've been up to so we can get caught up on this whole lack of our time here. And let's start with Chris. What you been up to, man?
Well, when I got back from my family trip, I downloaded the second Marie update for Skullgirls, and it was very fun. It is the end of the first season pass, and it pretty much wraps up the entire story for what we've ended up. And now they're actually going to start a new story, which is always nice for a fighting game.
Oh, what are you playing it on?
I'm playing it on PC, but
okay.
I do have it on Switch as well. And I have the mobile game, but I haven't played it very much.
I know I have. I think I have Skullgirls on the Switch. I'll have to look and see if that DLC is available or not. All right. Well, your trip went well, though?
Yes.
Nice. Always good to hear. Rachel, what about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, man. Well,
everyone get comfortable.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I've gone for a little bit because, a combination of things, family stuff, Monster of the Week games, my allergies trying to kill me. They still are, but they're getting better. I hate allergy season down here because I never know what I'm going to get. Last year was fine.
Are they getting better, or are they getting better at killing you? Because that sentence could go either way.
Jury's out on that one. Honestly, the last time what it's doing now is better than the last time that this happened. The last time that this happened, I ended up with a severe sinus infection, but then I got the job I have now, so I couldn't really complain. Not that had anything to do with each other. But...
I was going to say, how exactly?
Well,
She has a very unique voice. Hire her.
I went to a convention before. And I guess being in the dusty convention hall with all the, I don't know, sweaty nerds, among other things.
We are sweaty.
It was not okay. But hey, here I am. So it's same thing this time, but just not as bad. It hasn't graduated to sinus infection level of bad. I'm managing it better now. So that's where we're at. But
okay.
I've been watching my comfort shows because I got a lot of stuff going on personally, so I'm constantly jumping between Murdoch Mysteries and Supernatural based on my mood, I've been playing a lot of stuff on my Switch because it's portable, and it's got a lot of options. I started playing. I bought this game before I went to the Ren Fair a couple weeks ago. I bought a game called Rain Code. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It was on sale at Best Buy, and I was like, you know what? It's a mystery. It's by Spike Chunsoft.
Yes, the Danganronpa guy.
It's whoever does Danganronpa, yeah. And wow. I'm at the very end of chapter 0, which is kind of the tutorial chapter. And this game is simultaneously so wild and also not much going on at all, if that makes sense. But it's also chapter 0, so it hasn't really amped up. But boy, howdy, does it have fan service. There's this one puzzle thing where you have to solve, you have to fill in the blank. And in order to do it, you have to, throw your sword at this barrel that has letters all over it, and as you break open holes in the barrel, it reveals like the body of the demon that you've done a deal with, and she's wearing this skimpy swimsuit, and I just can't. I was sitting here laughing because I was like, there's so much happening right now. I don't know whether they're trying
There's
to be
so
really
much boobs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know whether they're being serious about it or if it's like comedic, tongue in cheek. So I think it's a combination of the two, but it's been fun so far. Um, and the voice acting is pretty solid, which is good. Um, and then of course I just got in the mail the Touch Detective 3, the complete case files,
Mhm.
which if you did not play those games, I think there was only I only played the first one on the DS, and I remember having a lot of fun with it when it first came out. So I was like, oh man, I could play all the other games. And of course I booted up and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, yay. And there's so many like things you could do. You click on these little picture frames to get from game 1 to game 2 to game 3, and then there's like the credits, and then there's some archive stuff, and then there's a whole other little mini game thing that you could play just with Fun Guy, which is her little like pet friend dude in there that is literally a mushroom. He's
So
neat.
it's dollar store toad.
Maybe. No, I wouldn't say that. But it's I just got out of there in the beginning tutorial sequence. You have to like find a way out of her bedroom because I guess her butler has locked her in there to essentially like oh, you have to solve the mystery to get out of the room, and it's because she's taken over her father's detective agency. There's all kinds of different little things. It's cute. It's got, you can use the touchscreen on your Switch in this game, or you can use the like normal like analog stick. So you've got some options. I will say it's kind of weird because you don't play the game at full screen. It's got this border around it with this little like anniversary logo in the side. I'm not sure if there's a option in the settings to change that so it's full screen. But more on that as it develops. I also got Chocobo GP because it was on sale. It's okay.
It's better than it was before.
It is. I will say that, yes. I did have the opportunity to play it in its first iteration at a friend's house, and I was not pleased at all. I'm okay with it. Like it's cute, it's fun. It's not Mario Kart by any sense of the word.
No.
But it's cute, and the voice acting is actually very solid for it.
Cute, and you get some really good remixes in there.
Yes, the music definitely slaps in this.
I think Junior has that, so I might just borrow his and try it.
Yeah. The best thing so far about it is the music. It slaps. I just literally sat on the
the English song.
And Rachel just broke.
I literally just sorry, I got a notification saying something is shipped, and I was like, I didn't order anything from that, and then I remembered, oh
She
yes,
just got
I did.
ooh shinied.
Yeah, well, I it's been 5 years at my job, and I was able to like, pick a little thing out of a catalog,
A chat
anniversary stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, and what was I saying? Oh yeah, Chocobo Chibi. You're in the main menu, and it's got this really cute little song that is sung in it that has all the character names in it, and I was just like sitting there listening to the song, like, this is cute, yeah. I also got Pocket Jockey. This game is dark. I didn't expect it to be dark, but it's dark.
3DS one wasn't like that at all.
I was like, oh my god. In the first, 10 minutes, I'm sitting here going, oh my god.
They changed that much?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because in just the demo, the guy's just like, you're going to have to win some races or you're going to heck. And the guy's like, excuse me? and like fire comes up from everywhere, and the screen turns dark, and everybody gets demonized like you're going to die, and he basically like implies that.
Oh, I need to play this game.
What
No,
the heck?
in like the first like 10 minutes, it's like, oh, and you're literally racing and you literally die. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Wow,
So
okay.
hey, you and you're in this dark space talking to this guy. I guess he's an angel or whatever. It's like, hey, yeah, you have to win this, and if you win this like massive like tournament thing and you become a professional horse racer and you essentially win, you won't go to hell. And you're like, oh, oh.
Isn't
I was
this
like,
the
that was
game
not
that's
the
just
story of the 3DS one at all. It was
Yeah.
just a happy-go-lucky jockey who just
wasn't this supposed to
wanted
just
to
be
be
the
best.
like horse racing in solitaire? Like
It
what?
is.
It is, but
I'm
they
very
just added
confused.
this in with the Apple Arcade / Switch release now.
I'm
Now
sitting
there's
here.
death involved. Now
I'm-
I have to play this game.
I'm sitting here reading this and playing this, and I played it. I want to say I played it for like an hour or two, while I was in the, like just in my mom's hospital room while she was just resting. And I was sitting here and I'm like playing this, and I'm like, oh my god, why is this so existential? I didn't think I was back in post contemporary literature class. I didn't know I needed to go. I was like bringing in like things that I learned in my theology course. Like, what's going on? But yeah, so played a little bit of that. It's entertaining, but it's dark. That's my review.
Nice.
Wow.
And then lastly, I'm rereading the Percy Jackson series, and I'm almost done with Sea of Monsters.
Nice.
I actually went through, I want to say like 3 chapters today, because I was visiting my mom in the hospital today, and she was like, can you read to me like you did the other day? And I was like, okay. So I just read the chapters aloud, and we went through like 3 chapters, and then she called me a little earlier and was like, one of my nurses helped me like re-download the first 3 books onto my Kindle, because we had bought them like digitally like ages ago, and now
Right.
she's reading the first one, and she's like, it's good because it's just entertaining enough to keep me engaged, but also not too like dense where I have to think about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Flows
that's-
nicely.
yeah, that's but that's what's going on. That's what's new in my life. Other than that,
Okay.
not so much. Nothing new.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on then. Steven, what about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, well, yeah. I also dabbled in Pocket Jockey. And I completely obliterated the 3DS release, and I don't remember being told that I have to win all my races, or else, I'm going to hell. Heck.
The
And-
devil.
Yeah, they just need to
I do
bring
like
up,
I do like
pull
all
it
the
up.
different horses now being all like there's anime versions, robot versions instead of just different colors now. So that's really cool to see. I still like, I think his name is Hee Haw. He's always like, if you don't want to hear me, just hit me on the head and I'll go away. Because he's always telling you tutorials over and over and over and over again. And a lot of times, like when you don't come in first, he'll be like, "This is why you sucked." So he's always saying like, you didn't do a very good job there because you suck at solitaire, basically. So if you don't like him, you can just tap on him. Surprisingly, yeah, you can play with a Pro Controller too if you just want to move the pointer around on your screen, because again, it's just solitaire. It is very liberal with the timer, at least in the beginning, but it's gonna get crazy later.
Oh yeah, I had a feeling about that. Toward the end of the tutorial section, when I was just like, oh, timer, and then they kept like emphasizing the timer, and I was like, I'm now nervous, so I'm gonna not play this for a little while.
Sounds like one of those I would play it until I got stressful.
Because then if you don't get all the cards, your horse can get upset and mad, which is its own craziness, because then you can really lose a race. But it's one of those like you just keep trying. So that's not too bad. Other than that, the wife and I went to the B&B theaters near us, which had a option called Max Relax, which you basically have these like chase lounge, like almost beds you get to lay on while you watch the movie, for the same price as your regular admission. So very nice, still cheaper than IMAX.
It's popular
Very
with the
good.
teenagers, I'm sure.
But yeah, we saw Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. I have thoughts. If you see it under a certain pretense, you'll enjoy it. Otherwise, you might have some qualms like I do with it. I can see
Is there
why.
anything I like that you don't?
Huh?
Is there anything I like that you don't somehow not?
I can see why critics are down here and audiences up here. I can definitely see that, just like the last movie. I can go way further into it, but I feel I would get into spoiler territory. But the only thing I will say that's not a spoiler really is I'm really glad what happened to the drone.
I figured you might be. I still think that's a good idea. Jeez. All right. Well, jumping into what I've been doing myself here, I finally introduced Amanda to Beetlejuice because I found out she had not seen it, so I ordered the
Yay!
4K. And after watching it, she was just kind of like, "Yeah, that is 80s as hell." Like it's just
But it's so good.
not in a bad way. She enjoyed it because
It
we didn't even sit there and make jokes about it. We were just kind of, she was quietly watching it and paying attention. I was worried she'd fall asleep at some point, but she was awake. She watched the whole thing. I hadn't seen it in a long time, so it does just kind of fly by really quick. It's shorter than I thought it was, from what I remembered. Some of the special effects held up. I still like the stop motion things. There was a lot of it where you're watching the 4K version and it's very obvious, like when what's his name, the husband, the dead guy,
Adam,
thank you. Whenever Beetlejuice like stops him and then whisks him away, like when he stops, it looks like the film was just stopped and they had made a cutout and just left it there on the screen till he magically made it go away. And I was like, oh, that is very obvious now.
Oh, I didn't notice it, but
yeah, same thing with like whenever Beetlejuice's head shrinks, there's like a big line around it. You can see that it's the film just getting shrunk down. And I was just like, oh, okay. So some of that would have been hidden in the older version, which I get. It's the effects of the time. It's just kind of funny seeing it now.
4K.
Yeah, I do feel in that light, like there are some films that they're I don't think that you should watch them in 4K because like what's the point if it's going to lose some of the.
Well, I think that's going to happen even on movies. If you just go back and watch them normally, you notice more of these things when you learn more about how they work. So even on like DVDs and stuff, I'm still going to see that.
I just think it's fascinating.
Good. I didn't say it was bad.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a sign of the time. It didn't stop me. It's just funny noticing it now. I mean, I go back and watch old Star Trek. Like I've been watching Next Generation in HD, and you watch that first episode when Data's pulling, Wesley out of the water. You're like, that is not the same actor. Like you should not be able to see that's just some other dude with his face painted.
Yeah.
I find that stuff hilarious.
I will say, Beetlejuice actually celebrated its 36th anniversary today,
Nice.
for release. So 36 years ago today is when it was first released, and I'm so excited for the next.
They literally just had yesterday. They did the Vanity Fair had him do all his roles, talk through all his roles, and he talked about Beetlejuice, and he was just like, if you put a gun to my head and had me pick one, he's just like, I'll do Beetlejuice. Because it came from an idea, and he said he had so much input. It's his favorite of all time.
You could just, in all of the interviews that he's given lately, he's given I think 6 in the last 2 months. You could just see his face light up when he talks about it. And it's just so delightful to watch him light up when he talks about it, especially like the new stuff that's, coming soon. But it's, what was the other, but you can also tell that he's holding himself back because there's things he can't say, and he's really excited to talk about the things that he can't yet say. But he's really good at.
Yeah, because he really wants to talk about what role Willem Dafoe is in the movie, but he can't. He's just like, Willem Dafoe's in it. Oh my god! And then that's all he says.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Willem Dafoe has kind of said what he is, but go on.
So the other things I've been playing.
Yeah.
Y'all kind of wandered off, and I was like,
"It's okay. You're the one who talked about Beetlejuice, so you
said it 3 times. You summoned her.
Yeah, this is Ghostbusters, and I didn't go off that.
Listen, okay.
She did enjoy the movie. I thought you'd want to at least know that. I still think I'm not going to let Jen watch it. I think it would freak her out. I don't think she'd like it. We're going to get the cartoon though, and we'll try that.
Yes.
So,
I was the weird kid that just immediately was like, "This is my favorite film forever."
well, I sent you the 3D model that Brent was making
He's so
of Beetlejuice.
cute.
Yeah, he's about that tall
I love him
altogether.
so much.
I'll see if he'll make another one.
Oh.
The other thing speaking of undead things, I've been playing. I finally got my copy of Red Dead Redemption for the Switch, which I still think it looks and plays beautifully on there. I don't care. It's 30 FPS. It was originally 30 FPS. It plays great. I don't care. I played a little bit of the story. I was like, oh, this is fun, but I want to get into the undead. So I immediately restarted Undead Nightmare, which is my favorite part of that game. And I've been just running around killing zombies, declaring towns, and doing stuff, and still loving just how stupid all these people are. Like you're dealing with a zombie apocalypse with the scientific and religious knowledge of the 1800s, which is great. Because they don't know what they're doing. They're just like, I don't know why they're biting everybody or what's going on. So, yeah. Other than that, I officially yesterday have joined the Panama City Ghostbusters group. So I'm now the 4th member of that. So I have my little patch here. I got to figure out what I'm going to put that on. If I'm going to put it on mine or make another one or what I'll do with that. But
that would be the most festive Ghostbusters suit ever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to do just a normal tan one if I do that, because it looks like this should be like with board shorts or something, doesn't it? Like I should just be like super chill out surfing one.
Okay, so you should do a flight suit, right? But instead of it being long pants, long sleeves, it should be knee. It's cut off at the knee, and it's also cut off at like just above the elbow.
Still have the knee pads and elbow pads.
And though. it should be like maybe like navy blue or something like that, because that would look good with the patch.
They did make the blue ones, yeah.
With neon accents. You're welcome.
Synthwave Ghostbuster.
Yep.
Oh Lord.
Listen, I hate to say it, but all Florida palettes are Miami Vice palettes.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I mean
Vice City.
This thing is, and apparently I haven't tested it yet. This glows in the dark too.
That's nice. Hysterical. I love it, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I like the patch. I'm hoping they can get some other stuff made too. So I'm excited about that, and I'll start doing more of the suit dress up and stuff for charity work and other events and things. So, hey, look, I'm doing things, and it's technically cosplay. So
Yay.
There you go, Rachel. I finally broke into it.
There you go.
I'm working on it. Lastly, I've been watching and greatly enjoying X-Men 97. Boy, that 3rd episode got dark.
I haven't watched it yet.
I'm not going to go into detail, but yeah. I was watching it going like, oh, okay, no, they're going there. Oh, they're going there. All right.
I was watching a small clip because I only wanted one answer. Just one.
Mm-hmm.
Was whether they did my boy Gambit dirty with the voice. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that the guy they got for him,
I mean,
beautiful.
They brought back everybody they could.
I know. No,
they could for that, but
I know that's not a criticism on that, but perfect. Even the original Rogue voice actor was like so complimentary when I saw an interview with her, and I was like, oh, so good. But one of my friends has also been watching it, and they messaged me because they know that I have I just know who is voice acting who, if that makes sense. I guess because of my constant game of, is Yuri Lowenthal in this? He's not in this. But they did go, the guy who voices Cyclops sounds really familiar. And I go, yeah. And then I just sent them that one graphic that I have is that mother effing Ray Chase? Because it is.
Well, I haven't read it yet, but I also they had the first issue. They're doing the X-Men 97 comic. That ties in with the cartoon, which I used to love reading the older comics that tied into it. So this was kind of cool.
Yeah, because you got that at what, Arena?
Oh, fuck no, I don't go there.
Where do you go now?
I've always gone over to Comic Emporium with Greg and them.
Okay.
Greg and Alex and those guys.
I never know what comic stores are up. I never know what comic stores is up there anymore because I went to New Force and New Force isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So
The other thing, going back to Ghostbusters, I have the Ghostbusters Back in Town, which this is supposed to be the story in between Afterlife and Frozen Empire
no,
of like when they moved and what was going on with it. So this
maybe
is the
that'll
first
fill in
issue.
some blanks.
I think it will for part of it, because not to go into a lot of it, the movie, the comic book has stuff in the beginning that it ties into, and then there's also a Netflix series that's coming out that this leads into. But beyond that, I did get my my Stay Puft Bowl.
That's cute.
Yeah, Brent picked it up for me. I ended up trading one of my extra ghost traps for this guy, and I ended up with let me put that somewhere it won't fall. The Firehouse.
Hey, neat.
Which I do like the little Slimer on the front. It's got the warning for the emergency vehicles only. And then it's got the logo on there.
That's cute.
And
I
got a
do want to
little
go
mini
see
poster
it.
here, too.
I do want to go see it. I'm meeting a friend for dinner on Monday, and they might be able to convince me to go see it. We'll see. Considering I have to be at work at 6 a.m. the next day, I'm not banking on it. But
Good
we'll
point.
see how I feel.
All right. Well, I think that wraps that part up. So let's go ahead and move into the news. So first up, if you guys remember this little game called No Man's Sky,
Little.
surprise, surprise, there's yet another update 4.6 free update that is out for this. That's added a bunch of stuff that's coming out next Wednesday. Massive changes and variety are adding to the space station's exteriors and interiors with procedurally generated interiors, where it actually changes the style for each of the races. New station merchants, so that'll be updated. You get reputation discounts for different species, so as you build up the languages and things with them, you'll get to save some money. There's an economy scanner that lets you kind of see market surges in like corresponding or nearby star systems, so you can kind of play the market if you want to do it. Like, just, I don't know, it's coming Wall Street the game on here. The Starship Fabricator now lets you build custom ships, so you can gather parts together either from, if you find a ship, you could just dismantle it when you bring it back and use different parts to make new ships, which is cool. But naturally hunted, I like how they refer to that as that. Ships will be authenticated Starship seal attached to them on their name. So you can sell those for a higher amount or trade with them, but you'll know you found it, you didn't build it, which is kind of neat. Last few things like screen space reflections are being added. I guess that's this option against like for people doing ray tracing. Fleet missions are now available. So if you build up a fleet, you can send those off to do things or be involved with them. And then there's just in general improved guild rewards.
So as delighted as I am that they continue to update this game and put all this free stuff in there, I continue to get more and more overwhelmed at the sheer volume of content that is in this game. So much so that I don't want to play it because I know if I try to play it, I will get confused because there's too much for me to look at.
That happened with me and the later versions of The Binding of Isaac. They added so much, so many new endings, so many new options, so many new ways to play the game that I didn't know what beating the game was anymore.
Yeah. Well, in this, it's not even about beating the game. It's more so like, how do I want to play this game? There's too many options. And there is such a thing as too many options in a game because you get players like me that I'm not easily overwhelmed, but there's a reason why I don't play resource management games, and this is why.
I mean, the nice thing is like a lot of this is optional stuff, but when there are so many options, I could see how somebody could get kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah, like a lot of it is optional, but the thing is like then now that everything's in front of me and whatever, I'm like, oh man, I feel like I'm missing stuff. Like if I'm not gonna do it, if that makes sense. I like my game simple when it comes to that kind of thing.
All right, Stephen, you're kind of quiet on this one. Didn't know if you you don't want to play any of the No Man's Sky.
I guess I'll go play Astroneer back when No Man's Sky was fun.
Oh damn! All right.
They
I'm gonna say this right now. The biggest problem is You add it in co-op, but you don't really get to do anything together. You still fly your own ship. You can't like get in your friend's ship. It's and you're gonna hate me for this. It's Space Skull and Bones, okay? It's just I don't see it's
You
too much
can get
to
in
do.
freighters together, just your individual ships for drop in, drop out, but your freighters still count as doing that.
Yeah, but you can't get the freighters and all that stuff in the beginning, and even when you go to there, you're just looking around for stuff. It's just it's like she said. There's too much. I don't want too much.
I still wouldn't call it skull and bones with that one. Like you can't
I
even really
wouldn't call
do
it Skull and
that's
Bones, but
damn.
Skull and Bones
Steven,
was
like,
too little.
Skull and Bones, there was too little, simultaneously too much UI weirdness. And then yeah, but no, I think Steve and I agree on this point. I want to like No Man's Sky, and admittedly, I actually enjoyed it at launch because it was very simplistic. You didn't have to like. I played it for like 2 hours one night, didn't pick it up for 2 weeks, then played it again 2 weeks later. I had no idea where I was, but it didn't matter. But I will say I have a very fond memory of playing this game, actually. I was just dicking around on stream, actually. I think I was streaming like directly from my PlayStation. And my friend Ray was watching. And then I got stuck on a planet with no fuel and no resources on the planet to then craft fuel. And he was like, I got you, girl, and got online and came and found me to give me resources so that I could get off that damn island or
oh Lord,
planet,
Steven,
whatever.
Have you ever played Subnautica?
No, but I've watched Mark play it, and I don't know that I want to play it.
It's basically what No Man's Sky used to be, but it's underwater. It's not too complex yet. I wish there was again. I wish there was. I don't know if there is multiplayer aspect where at least like you could get some help.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like No Man's Sky because you eventually can get like a sub and stuff to go around because you just start as a little capsule. You have to scan stuff. You have limited air. Back. So it felt like that for me because I played it on Game Pass.
Yeah.
I got it on Switch. I played it and I was just like, okay, this feels like what No Man's Sky was in the beginning. Back when people were just taking it.
I will say anytime someone brings up Subnautica and the first time I watched it be played, I was like, oh, it's endless ocean, but scary.
I have to give Subnautica another try because every time I've tried it, it kind of bored me. Like it never clicked with anything. So
like there are some games that even though I like a simple game every now and then, but like I want to feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah, if they go too slow, too simple, I lose interest and would rather do something else.
Game where I feel like I'm doing something is actually Endless Ocean, but it's still very simple. Yeah. Game where I know that I'm doing something, but it still feels boring to me. I absolutely just lost the game that I was going to say. Come back to me later. It's gone.
Hey, it's memorable.
Not really. Not really.
That's the joke. Oh, Lord. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on then. So Overwatch has got a lovely bit of competition coming for it since we've recently talked about Overwatch 2 losing all of its story content. Now we have Marvel Rivals, which is officially announced from NetEase Games and Marvel itself. This is a 6v6 free-to-play shooter for PC only for now, with a closed beta that is happening in May, I believe. It's very similar to Overwatch in art style and gameplay. Some people I could even see being kind of confused, thinking maybe this is skins for Overwatch. But this does actually have a story mode, so they've gotten further than Overwatch 2 on that, which features Doom fighting Doom 2099, which is why there's time travel and multi-dimensional stuff mixed in, which is why you have so many different characters from different timelines and other things mixed in, which I was always a fan of Doom 2099, so it's kind of cool to see him getting some love in there. But the cast so far includes, and it's a bit of a list, but let me get through it real quick. Bruce Banner, Hulk, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Groot, Iron Man, Loki, Luna Snow, Magic, Magneto, Mantis, Namor, Penny Parker, Punisher, Rocket Raccoon, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, Storm, and Star-Lord.
Okay. So there's some names there that you don't hear very often.
Mm-hmm.
Luna Snow, Magic with a K.
Yeah, Magic I knew of, but Luna Stone I actually did not know off the top of my head.
Penny Parker?
Yeah, she was in the last, the first of the Spider-Verse movies.
Yep.
Not the same version, though.
No, not the same version.
But it's a take on that one. But go ahead, Steven.
I did do some digging. I watched some videos. Luna Snow was actually created by NetEase in collaboration with Marvel way back in earlier mobile games with Marvel.
Oh, that's what I didn't know her.
Eventually, Marvel made some comics to fit her into the universe. So she is a Marvel / NetEase creation, and now she's fully fleshed out.
Okay.
That's why you don't hear that name often.
When you watch the trailer, there is some differences like destructible environments, which are nice. Team ups, which I don't know how that works. Some of them make perfect sense. Some of them make no sense. So that's pretty neat. Other than that, when you watch it, you can definitely see, like Jeremy said, the Overwatch influence. You can definitely see that Iron Man is Farah. You can definitely tell that Hulk is what's his name? The guy with the big hammer and the armor.
Yeah. I'm blanking on the name, but I know what you're talking
about. I'm going to pronounce her name wrong because I like to, but Penny Parker is probably going to be the diva of the group, stuff like that.
He's got to make a dick joke in there.
I mean, yeah, but damn.
And then with this game, people have now established that Yuri Lowenthal is the Kevin Conroy of Spider-Man.
Listen, the man said
hearing the voices over. Yeah.
The man said in an interview that he could play Spider-Man for the rest of his life and he'd be perfectly happy. I personally think it's because he wants some role to eventually completely overshadow his role as Sasuke. But until he stops voicing Sasuke, I don't think that's going to happen. Sorry, Yuri. I love you anyway.
I'm about to piss off a lot of nerds. Who is Sasuke?
Oh. You don't know who
Rachel
Sasuke
just signs out.
Click.
He's from Naruto.
What's his other famous role?
Not really watched that much.
Guard.
Yeah. or you mean his other role that the name is also Sasuke?
Oh God.
I'm not even remotely kidding.
All I'm hoping for, as much as this game is going to be weird, because when you look up the developer, it's NetEase Games, and that's just people who were poached who worked on Call of Duty and Battlefield. So you're like, okay. And when you look deeper, you remember that NetEase had a disagreement with Blizzard with how things were done. So they do have some bad blood with Blizzard. So this is their basically big middle finger back to them.
Sticking it to them.
If this game does turn out nice and not too predatory, fingers crossed that when Deadpool gets added, that is Nolan North, because he's better be the Kevin Conroy of Deadpool.
Yeah.
If there is a full single-player story mode and no reason to play online, then I will play this game.
I have a feeling it'll probably still require online. Being a free-to-play, they would not make this where you're just separated from it.
Cowards.
If probably unlock like 12 things by completing chapter 1, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with it. Like, if they want to make it free to play for people to play it, but then have like a charge for the single player where it's like you get it and you can play that by yourself or do whatever, that's fine. I'd be cool with that. And like you said, Steven, I'm wondering how predatory it's going to be. Free to play games can be hit or miss on that. Marvel hasn't exactly proven the best with how they do it for other games.
Spider-Man costumes right off the bat.
Right. As long as I've been reading comic books, there's so many costumes for all of these. It terrifies me. Like, that's God, just the Hulk, Doctor Strange I've seen change a bunch of times. Iron Man is just, oh God. I think the only one that would be the worst is if they put Wasp in this. Nobody could afford that. Because that woman, they would change her costume every freaking issue.
I also
Multiple
want to point
times in an
out-
issue sometimes.
I also want to point out too, for when you watch the trailer, because there are some people who are getting confused
Mm-hmm.
when they watch the trailer. At the end of the trailer, that is not waifu Galactus. That is Galacta. That is Galactus's daughter. That was introduced in a Marvel Comics arc by the artist Adam Warren.
I still don't believe they're actually sticking with that.
And is part of the Marvel universe. It is not just a reimagined Galactus, so don't think that they just changed it for the game.
If Adam Dirty Pair Warren created Galacta, then she is waifu Galactus. I refuse to discuss otherwise.
And she's a good guy, a good girl. Sorry,
It's almost worse when you say it that way.
she's a good girl.
Oh, let's promise never to say
Like
that again.
P9 Parker.
Oh, God. Rachel's completely tuned out. She's just like, I don't want anything to do with this. Why did I come back?
I'm just laughing. I just keep yeah.
Oh, wow. All right, on to our next bit here. So, who here is familiar with the PlayDate? This is a lovely little handheld with a crank on the side. And if you really wanted one, if you're in the Las Vegas area, maybe look in non-reputable places, eBay, so forth, because $400,000 of them were stolen in Las Vegas from a shipping spot. 2 pallets were taken from the shipping center. Another pallet was found delivered, opened next door at a Circle K being built. Someone dropped it off at the wrong spot. And it was long enough for the guy to show up and take pictures of it before they finally got it. And they're finding that the same person signed off for all these packages. So I'm guessing that person is being checked out in every possible way, probably including a colonoscopy. Like they are checking him in and out. But yeah, that's a lot of play dates to just disappear.
Someone's yanking that crank.
What is with the dick jokes?
Steven, are you feeling some kind of way? Like, what's going on with you tonight?
That's a men in tights joke. Like, are you yanking my crank?
No, but like, sir, my goodness. Are you all right?
Start with the Marvel Rivals one, it wouldn't have been as suspicious.
That's true.
It was too easy with the play date.
I'll give you that. We'll give you that. Yeah, and I wonder how that's going to work because these things have to connect online to download their games. So I wonder if they identify their serial numbers. Can they just look up what serial numbers are gone and wait for them to pop up somewhere? Like I'm honestly curious about that. So
they might not have thought that far ahead.
I'm sure that people that make these may have thought of that. The people that stole them probably not. They just saw, oh crap, here's pallets of game systems. They don't know what kind it is sometimes, and they just want to get them out there. So a lot of people are going to have an interesting Easter and then possibly get visited by the cops. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up. So we all remember the Embracer Group has been in the news a lot lately for buying up a whole bunch of companies and then closing a whole bunch of companies. And then last week, or week before last, I think, they sold off Saber Interactive. Well, now they are finally selling Gearbox to Take-Two Interactive. So Embracer purchased Gearbox originally for $1.3 billion in 2021. They're now selling it for only $460 million. So it's less than half. So they're taking a bit of a hit on that. Gearbox San Francisco publishing branch will be renamed and maintained by Embracer Group. Take-Two will acquire Borderlands, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, as well as Homeworld, Risk of Rain, Brothers in Arms, Duke Nukem, and anything Gearbox currently is working on. And then Gearbox has 6 projects in development, including 5 sequels, 2 of which are a new Borderlands and a next Homeworld title, and at least 1 new IP. So, yeah. Steven, what you got?
I also wanted to add, and I'm sorry, Jeremy, but Embracer will still keep. Sorry, Gearbox is San Francisco, and Embracer will still keep the people who make Star Trek Online.
Damn it! I was really hoping for that one. Son of a. I'm not surprised that they're making more Borderlands. I was surprised it took this long for it to be announced. So I wonder if it wasn't announced because they were working on the sale. I kind of assumed they would have said something back when they announced the movie. You guys remember there's a movie coming out, right? Because everyone else seems to have forgotten. I still tell people about it. They're like, there's a Borderlands movie? It's like, yeah, we got a trailer months ago.
Yeah, it's the most miscast movie in existence.
It's getting there. Yeah. You gonna go see that movie, Rachel?
Oh,
Borderlands.
Oh, I'll probably go see it. Maybe we'll see.
Oh man.
I want to see what the popcorn buckets look like. I want a claptrap popcorn bucket.
Yeah, I bought a Claptrap Yahtzee game just because the actual shaker was a nice statue of Claptrap and just popped his lid off, and it's surprisingly clean one. So who knows? I could see him being the popcorn bucket like that very easily.
I'm also surprised that they decided to still utter the name Duke Nukem. So I'm glad he still carries weight.
Gotcha. All right, so we'll move on then. So this is a short and sweet one here, but pretty blatantly, the Xbox Series X all digital, all white system has been pretty much leaked. It's all but confirmed. It looks legit, and it wouldn't really surprise me. And shocking to no one, it looks like a Series X without a disk drive. So it's a rectangle. It could be a popcorn bucket. I don't know.
They need to sell the disk drive and make it that you need to connect to the internet to make it work.
No, that would be just like the new PS5 one. Yeah. I still think every time I see that disk drive for the PS5, it looks like someone tried to ask AI to make an updated version of a Wii. Like it just looks so wrong. Like it's trying to make a Wii by just describing it.
For me, it just looks like my laptop. I needed to burn a CD, so I had to buy one of those things off of Amazon to put a CD drive via USB.
Did you at least get the good one where you could flip it over and burn an image onto it with the special discs? Oh man. So I get why they're making it all digital. They did that for, the Series S back in the last generation, and it just seems kind of weirdly timed with the expansions of it. Because the Series S, I think if they had just dropped that and went with two versions of the Series X like the PS5 did, I think it probably would have helped. But I don't know. Did anybody else think this is kind of a weird move at this point?
Why is it the same size?
Well, I mean, the disk drive, even if you got rid of it, you're only going to, because the way that thing's laid out on the inside, you can't really change the size of it without completely relaying everything.
It's like somebody just caulked it shut.
Yeah, they just put a little sticker there.
And it just basically, people are going to get it confused with their Starfield Special Edition.
Yeah, I need to get that little cover for mine. It'd be kind of nice to have. Who knows? All right, so we'll leave that weird oddity and move on. So this one I just kind of wanted to talk about because it's kind of a weird view for how the news has been. Places have been trying to report of Nintendo having a bunch of layoffs. Like they're claiming, Nintendo is going back on their words. They're just as bad as everybody else. Nintendo of America is having a whole round of layoffs. And IGN is really bad about reporting this. And I was like, come on, guys. So IGN reported Nintendo to be having these layoffs in their testing department. But the article actually states in the thing, Nintendo stating this will, quote, involve some contractor assignments ending, as well as the creation of a significant number of new full-time employee positions. So they're already coming to the end of a contract they had, which that is what contract work is. You are only there for as long as your contract. When that contract ends, you're not laid off. The job is just done. I don't think it's fair to call those layoffs.
It's just for clicks. They're calling it layoffs because that's what people are like. It's all how they get views and stuff like that. I don't trust IGN 90% of the time to to like actually give authentic stuff. Like there's actual truth hidden in their articles, but it's hidden behind a clickbait title, essentially. I will say, like, you mentioned like tester positions.
Mhm.
Tester positions are normally contract work. There are at this time very few actual like there's in-house testing, but most of their testing is done through betas and alphas, which people sign up for. So
Well, the funny thing is, Nintendo themselves even says they're making a number of new full-time employee positions in their testing. So
yep,
some people will be leaving with the contract, some get to stay on as new employees. So
yep,
that's technically a growth at that one. But
yep.
Nintendo stated, quote, "For all assignments that are ending, the contractors agencies with Nintendo of America's support will offer severance packages and provide assistance during their transition. For those contractor associates who will be leaving us, we are tremendously grateful for the important contributions they've made to our business, and we extend our heartfelt thanks for their hard work and service to Nintendo."
So I think a lot of people like you know, Nintendo, I guess, has used, you know, contractors for like a
Yeah,
long time, and
yeah,
now
forever.
it's, and a lot of times it used to be contractors were paid less. I think because it's not a formal, it's a formal agreement, but you're not paying them like a salary or anything like that.
Right.
It's contract work.
Yeah,
So
you
in the
pay them what the
past,
contract agreement is.
yeah, it's in the past that has been kind of like accepted around the world as contractors are on average paid less than somebody that actually works at the company. It's like, the same mindset with like temp agencies and stuff like that.
Right.
That is not the case now. It's sometimes opposite now. So in a way, doing this actually saves them money in the long run. Or it becomes, with insurance and all that kind of different stuff, if they're full time, it can become like a not necessarily a cost neutral, but it's like it's just a better deal for everybody involved.
Right.
So
Because I've done contract work before. It was like, with other places, and depending on what contract you were working on, your pay would change.
yes,
If we were working with the Navy on certain things, they had a particular level you had to be at, so it might actually be more than we would normally make, or vice
yep,
versa. And that always lead to everybody fighting over which jobs we're working on. We're like, we want that one. We're getting paid more on that.
and
But
obviously
yeah,
larger projects mean you get paid more too.
sometimes,
So
yeah. Go ahead, Steven.
I'm surprised IGN doesn't say Nintendo does layoffs every January, because they do contract work every November for the holidays, because they have people who do all their demos, and then in January they say goodbye. So they did layoffs because they did contract work.
Yeah, it must have been a slow news week.
Yeah, it's probably
Doesn't
some
seem we had a
headlines.
lot going on.
Remember, this is IGN. They also said like Helldivers has microtransactions. So
yeah, like I said, a lot of their stuff is just clickbait.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
it's gotten
I
kind of rough
miss
lately.
the old days of IGN when they had the T-shirt that made perfect sense, and it said you can't spell ignorant slut without IGN, and I was just like, that rings even truer today than ever before.
Oh my god.
It's real.
I
Look
don't
it up.
remember the slut part. I remember the rest of it.
Listen,
It's
I'm gonna need the receipts for that, Stephen. No, I'm not even gonna need it. I'm gonna demand it, actually.
If you
So
want to see evidence of this, go
back in
visit
their
our
infancy, when
Discord.
everything was trying to be hip and cool and get in or get out and play it loud, IGN said you can't spell ignorant slut without IGN.
Wow. Okay. I just don't remember the slut part. So let's move on to our last story for the night. So this one just popped up recently, and I thought it was kind of funny. We should talk about it. Jim Ryan, I believe today or yesterday was his final day at PlayStation after 30 years, and they had him on their official PlayStation podcast. And he just announced out of nowhere, "Oh no, the PlayStation 2 actually sold 160 million units." That's the official count of what it is. So originally it was 150 to 155. So, and I'm looking at this going like, okay, you see Nintendo Switch is coming for those numbers. It's coming for that record. And you're like, let's move the goalpost.
You read my mind. I literally was just thinking, but Buddy's like, oh, I see Nintendo's coming for our crown. Let me just raise this amount up just a little to stave it off, just for
Which
a
would
little
be
while.
funny if they still beat it.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah.
The Switch is still, as much as everyone gives it crap, like it's still selling really
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Surprisingly.
Oh yeah.
What was it, Steven? I think you had responded back like, "Oh, Nintendo just, oops, we found like another 10 million DS sales." Like,
and one Dreamcast, please.
Yeah.
To go.
Wrap it up in a nice box for me.
Would you like to upsize that PS2? Get the larger model?
How about throwing an extra controller on that?
Right. So I thought that was kind of funny, and it's like this huge debate. I'm seeing people online trying to calculate the math out for it. Like, is it real? Is it not? And it's like, doesn't matter. They said a long time ago that this is where they ended at. You can't just magically say you kept selling them because they stopped production. Like, are you counting old stock that you had? Are you counting resales?
Probably.
Like, what's going on?
Maybe. Who knows?
So yeah, but
and if you included resales on that number, man, yeah,
the Switches, those things trade hands like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Jim Ryan is now no longer at PlayStation. He is officially gone. So,
Yay!
Happy retirement, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I have no ill will for the guy. I don't know him.
Neither do I.
I don't think any of us actually do.
Can you imagine if we did, though?
Chris is just like, oh yeah, I talked to him last week. He's just, that's actually where it was. It was part of my family. He's like a distant cousin.
We do not speak of him.
Oh man. All right. So let's move on to the big question for this week. So what I wanted to bring up for the big question this week was, with the reviews being as polarizing as Stephen mentioned earlier, as they have been lately with things like Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, do you search out fans of a series or subject for their thoughts, or do you think the reaction of someone that openly doesn't like something or has no previous experience with it makes it for a better or more honest review? I bring this up because recently I was talking about how, and I'm not saying Frozen Empire is perfect, I'm never saying that, but I went and I had fun and I enjoyed it. And someone actually responded back that my point of view does not matter. You already like Ghostbusters. It doesn't count. And that was like me saying, if Rachel, you go see Beetlejuice 2 and you're like, oh my God, it was fantastic, it's what I wanted, and go, we don't need to hear from you. You like Beetlejuice. You don't count. Go sit down and be quiet and let this person who openly doesn't like it, let their opinion ring true and see what they say. Rachel's about ready to swing at me right now.
Okay. So let me tell you something.
Let's let Rachel go first, because I pulled that
let me tell all of y'all something. Especially those listening, like that listen to us talk about this or watch us talk about this. Okay. I want to be perfectly clear on this.
Mm-hmm.
Sequels to movies.
Mm-hmm.
Movie critics, if you're listening to this, the sequels to movies are not for you. They're not for you. They were not made for you. You weren't even thought about in the creation process. They are for the fans. And if you think they're for anyone else, you're stupid. Okay? So, me personally, when I am a fan of a series and something is coming out about it, whether it's a game, a TV series, or this movie, this lovely little movie that's going to come out on September 6th of this year, I'm going to watch it anyway. And I don't give a rat's ass what critics are saying about it. I don't care. It's not for you, the critics. It's for me. Okay. Like this Ghostbusters Frozen Empire? Yeah, it can be enjoyed. I think movies are meant to be enjoyed. They're not meant to be analyzed. They are meant for the enjoyment of people. Movie critics, who cares? I don't care. It gives you a job. That's all it is. That's it.
Yeah,
But
and to clarify like the stuff earlier, like I'm not saying you automatically have to like everything or can disagree with stuff. I'm fine with that, Stephen. I know I
yeah,
was picking on you earlier about what you
yeah.
were saying with Ghostbusters. We'll have a fun conversation about that. I know we will.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not sitting there going like, I don't care what you think because you enjoy, you like that series, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
You just
But
hate drones, you
that's one of
monster.
those things, like, if it's something that I enjoy,
Mhm.
I don't go looking for reviews. I am not going to go looking for reviews, whether it's by a fan or by a notable movie critic, because I
Mhm.
don't care what they think.
Okay.
I care what I think. I care whether or not I'm going to enjoy it. So I'm going to go watch that movie myself and make the decision myself. I'm not going to let anyone influence me otherwise and deprive me of a film that I would 100% enjoy, even if it was bad. I use with quotation marks in the air. And it's like, because guess what? In the grand scheme of things, other people's opinions don't matter. They don't. What matters is whether you enjoy something. And if you enjoy it and you had fun while watching it, whether it's Ghostbusters or the next Deadpool movie coming out or God, X-Men 97, I'm sure that's had its criticisms.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what other people think, even the critics. All that matters is whether or not you had a good time watching it. And that's all any one person should care about.
Yeah. No, I pulled that string and Rachel talked. All right.
Yes, you did. When I
Like when I
read
brought
this
up
big question,
Beetlejuice, you were just like,
when I read this big question earlier, I
Mhm.
literally was like, I got something to say here.
That's always fantastic. Steven, what about you? Your thoughts on this?
So I never really care about what critics say
Okay.
Thank you.
at all. I'm going to give you a few examples.
Okay.
Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 is 100% at Rotten Tomatoes. 100%. Okay.
Why?
Did like one person review it? Everybody else just skipped it?
So obviously there's a Poohniverse coming. So they have a whole connected Poohniverse coming. So of all the characters that are free reign,
You
look
leave
it
Winnie
up.
the Pooh alone.
About to say this entire show is just full of
So
inappropriate.
the
He's-
Heffalumps are next. So's Rabbit, and so's a bunch of other characters.
He's a good
Again,
bear. You leave him alone.
He's good at killing.
Godzilla X Kong is
just looks
pacing
fun.
really well and is set to overtake Dune Part 2.
Oh
So,
God, really?
so people like what they like,
Yeah,
and
it's a popcorn flick.
and just like Afterlife, the audience is outweighing the critics again. Now, much like Super Mario Brothers the movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie, there is something where I won't search out fans, but if I know somebody's a super fan, I don't want their deep analysis, but I want their cliff notes. I want
Okay.
did you like it? And if they can give me like their haiku or something of how they liked it, that will give me kind of a green flag, red flag,
Okay.
at least, of what am I getting myself into as a casual fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then if somebody just saw it because they were like, oh, I remember Ghostbusters, or oh, I love Bill Murray, then it's like, okay, I'll see it as a popcorn movie, stuff like that. I know people out there. Jeremy got to hear one of them while we were playing Helldivers, who like despises Bill Murray, so she thought it was gonna be a schlock fest and just be, why is this movie being made? So my thing on a lot of these things are this includes Answer the Call, is if you go in with a certain stigma attached to it, be it from the hellfire landscape known as X,
Oh,
or
Jesus.
or any other troll-like substance known as people, then you're going to be looking for it. And if you just go in with an open mind, you're gonna find things to enjoy it.
Right.
And the thing I'll say, especially with Answer the Call, is I enjoyed it for it being a multiverse, for it being an alternate universe of
Right.
Ghostbusters, because even the comics embraced it that the original Ghostbusters met these Ghostbusters through, an alternate universe. And I enjoyed that those could coexist. They're not saying that they're canon, that one took place after the other,
Right.
because in the scheme of things, that would be insulting to a lot of fans. They knew what they were doing now to say, no, this is a different universe. That's why that one's going to have a Zool, yes or no, probably in the comics. And that's why this other one already had a Zool, stuff like that. So,
Right.
I'm sorry, spoilers for Answer the Call. But um, it's just stuff like that where if somebody asked me, what did you think of Super Mario Bros. Movie? I would just be like, it was very faithful to its source material. And then they'll be like, okay, cool. And then they'll go and say it's very enjoyable. Will there be the people that I call Nintendo toddlers who will nitpick it? Yes. And there are people who will nitpick films, which then I'm just like, I don't know what you want in a movie then, because I feel that those people's ideals are stuck in the past, because some of your expectations are not going to be around anymore. So
Right.
That's
uh,
why.
I, I like to take the best of both worlds and
Mhm.
kind of just make the most of it. I can't remember the worst movie I saw. I think it was Thor 2 The Dark World. I went in
That
there
was
with
the
an open
worst. Okay.
mind, and I was bored out of my mind.
Really?
You know, I didn't like the newest Thor movie, believe it or not.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
There's a fine line between being funny and trying too hard to be funny, and I think it was veering into the second category, but that's just me.
I think it's because they ran with Ragnarok, and Ragnarok was basically a comedy.
And it was hysterical. They did
you
it
didn't
very
like the
well.
screaming goats?
But um
I'm not gonna
but
try and do that scream.
Stephen, for all your points, that's one of the primary reasons why, if I am going to seek out any kind of review, it's with someone that I trust and I value their opinion and they know my interests very well. And I go, just give me your vibes. Give me your vibes for me. And that's generally what they communicate. Very like short answer, no spoiler kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, regardless of how you actually took the movie, Steven, I'm curious, like, because I gave you a small descriptor of how I liked it before when we had talked. Did that play into it at all? Were you even interested in that? Given yeah, I'm a big Ghostbusters fan. Love or hate it for different parts of it and so forth. But I wasn't trying to be spoilery, but just be like, hey, here's how we enjoyed it. Jennifer had a blast. Like, yeah, it's not a perfect movie, but we had fun. Like, was that some of the points you were maybe looking at? I don't know. I'm just
Um, no, because yours was like a blanket statement. Yours was
well,
like
you wanted me
thumbs
not
up.
to give spoilers. Yeah, I was
I
trying to be
know, but
I was trying to be
I,
simple.
I know, but at the same part, you was just like thumbs up. It wasn't like
Yeah,
you know
because I knew you were going
you.
to see it. I didn't want to risk even
It
saying
wasn't
the
like
wrong
source
thing.
material or
Mm-hmm.
this or cohesive or anything.
Yeah.
You were just like good, A+, thumbs up. I'm a fan enough that I try to follow like some of the graphic novels. I have the
Mm-hmm.
Tobin Spirit Guide. I love the lore, stuff like that. So I'm I'm a fan without having basically collectibles, but I love the stories.
Right.
So I went in with like, is the story gonna be good? So
And I would love to sit down and talk with you about like the good, the bad, stuff like that. Because I mean, no movie's going to be perfect. Everyone that assumes like, oh, I love this film, so you love every bit of it. It's like, no, there can be things you can be questioning about, or and the way movies are a lot of times nowadays, you may be like, well, why was this scene in there? It's like, well, that might be something to pay off later, or it's attached to something else. It's not so much of like a movie will be just itself. It's going to be tied to a comic book or other, something else, whatever in there. So that gets kind of weird.
yeah, because I gave Chris my full review and I gave him reasons why I said certain things too.
It's because you hate drones. You, I I'm going to
best
keep
part of the
picking you
movie.
about that one. Chris, what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
Usually I'll let a trailer decide whether I want to see something or not,
Okay.
because they condense enough that it will either convince me or keep me staying. Otherwise, if I know a super fan and they
Mhm.
say, for a good reason, mind you,
Right.
whether they liked it or they didn't, I will trust them on their merits,
Right.
especially if it's a super fan that did not like the movie, because that means something got to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I might still enjoy it, but if I knew all the lore, it might irk me. But at the same time, it's not going to stop me from seeing something that a trailer has already attracted me to.
Okay.
You gave a kaiju example before to me.
Yeah, a friend of mine who is huge into all the Ranger Tokusatsu kaiju stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he drove like 50 miles to an IMAX theater to watch Godzilla X Kong, and he
Oh,
had zero bad things to say about it. So coming from him, I know that it's a good movie.
nice. Okay. So my view on this is obviously if it's something I enjoy or I know someone's really into, I do like to kind of listen to their take on that because that is a world I may not be involved in that they are, and I want to see how it kind of goes with that. That can be tainted one way or the other, but I also try and avoid people that will just automatically go into, well, I don't like this series, and I question why are you reviewing it then? If someone is trying to talk about a sports team, but they're openly saying they hate that sports team, they're going to be just picking out all the things they find wrong with that sports team, why they don't like it. You're not really going to find out what you might enjoy from it. And that can kind of go both ways. Like the DC animated movies, I'm a huge DC Comics fan, especially for like Batman stuff and so forth. And there were some of the movies that were absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed, and I thought they were great versions of the comics. And then there's other stuff like Gotham by Gaslight, I thought was an absolute abomination of what they did. Yeah, it looked great. They kept the art style, but I also know because I'm familiar with that work that it completely ruined how it worked out. Not just because we changed the story to be different, we just completely drastically changed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot and will not sit here and say like, well, if someone watches this that has no idea about the book it came from, how will they enjoy it? I don't think I could even really judge on that because I am familiar with that. If I only bring this up because I know Rachel's all about Beetlejuice, but if they made an adaptation of Beetlejuice and then right towards the end, Beetlejuice is completely removed from it, and you find out Lydia is the killer that's been doing all this stuff, and you're just like, what the shit? What is this? And that's the adaptation, and you're like, they ruined the story. They completely changed that. They didn't update it. They did that.
I will say I am incredibly thankful that there are uh, contingencies in place that will never allow that to happen until long after both Tim and myself are dead.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well, that's just an example of kind of
Yeah.
trying to explain why that bothered me so much.
Well,
But
that was one of the reasons why actually the musical irked me so bad.
oh,
Yeah, there's some changes in Beetlejuice's characterization that I don't quite agree with that they did. I feel were pandering to certain groups in order to gain interest in it. Um I will recognize that the musical itself did re-energize the fandom and its interest in the IP
mhm.
as a whole. But that is and of course the costumes are great and the sets are great and the music itself is great. And Alex Brightman as Beetlejuice, perfection. He's awesome. But the character changes itself, did not agree with at all.
Okay.
But that's because I'm
Yeah.
a Beetlejuice purist.
So, looking at specifically Ghostbusters, where this conversation came from originally, I think my opinion on that matters, not
Oh
as
yeah.
like everyone should listen to me, but if I'm talking to someone I know, they know that I enjoy Ghostbusters. I'm not going to lie to somebody about it. Like if I enjoyed what I enjoyed,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I probably oversimplified it for you, Steven, but I really didn't want to risk messing anything up. Absolutely hate spoiling things for people. It is one of the worst things I do not like
Mm-hmm.
doing. Sometimes I kind of overdo it, but once you've seen it and we've kind of gone from there, or someone just gives me the okay, I'll try and peter out what I think you need to know to go into a little bit more. I could have done that, I guess. Um, but I can look at something and criticize it, and even something I don't like. I feel you should be able to make your argument reasonably and discuss it. Liking something or not liking something, just as important both ways. Someone just going, I absolutely love it, thumbs up without any context. Once again, outside of me trying not to spoil things, I would have said more. You should be able to explain that. You should have a reason, even if it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, I really enjoy this. It made me feel good. Okay, well that is a legit reason. If it gave you that feeling for whatever's going on or whatever. Just like we talk about Ghostbusters 2016. I'll get to you in just a sec, Steve. I'm not a fan of the movie, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's the worst. There were outside stuff that bugged me about it, like the whole legal issue with the old cast kind of being, they eventually admitted they kind of got forced in by contract to show up. They didn't want to be there. Some of how the PR people were interacting with people kind of rubbed me the wrong way, or some of the reactions. The cast was hilarious. I absolutely love all of them that's in there, and it did have good parts. I'm not saying the whole movie is like, it should never exist. It's just, it would be my least favorite one. I have my reasons, but it's not the end of the world. Steven, go ahead.
I will say, because I do know some people like this, that,
Mm-hmm.
and this crosses over from movies to games, is I don't feel you can carry an opinion if you have not seen or played it, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
As you cannot be like, well, you're wrong because I saw the prequel or I saw the previous movie. No, you didn't see this one. So you cannot just be like, well, I saw the IGN review or I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
So I'm following the crowd. No, you cannot just be like, you're not agreeing with the masses or the critics. So therefore you're a fool. It's like, well, until you've tasted it or until you've watched it or until you've played it, you do not have an opinion. I have tasted tea. Tea is disgusting. I have, I have played No Man's Sky. I don't like it anymore. I have watched Tomb Raider: Cradle of Life. It is nowhere near as good as the original. The end.
Okay. Yeah, like you see these reviews, especially with Ghostbusters. It was, you had reviews were giving it really bad, and then you had the public, like the actual fans of it that were watching it as that kind of went in. It was nice seeing that kind of raising up, and I could look at like, okay, the fandom is really enjoying it. That gives me a little bit of hope to go towards it. But I agree. I think you can legitimately argue if you see a trailer, like Chris, you were saying you like to watch the trailers. If you watch that trailer and say, this is not for me, that can be a legit argument for why you don't want to watch something. Now, you can't really go beyond that and say why in the movie because you didn't see it, like Steven said. But if
Mm-hmm.
that trailer turned you off in such a way that you don't want to see it, that's fine. You can talk about that trailer, why you don't want to see it, and then that's the end of the argument. Um, but, going back to 2016 Ghostbusters, I did watch the movie. I have seen that. I'm not going into this saying like, well, these people thought it was terrible and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. No, I watched it. I got some laughs. Was not my favorite. It's not the end of the world. That's how it goes. So, but yeah, I thought this would be a fun topic to go into. I didn't realize it would be quite the ripcord for Rachel, but that was funny.
Listen,
Yeah, I know.
like I said, a lot of these movies, and I will say Five Nights at Freddy's is testament to that. That movie was not for normal people. That
I
movie
need to
was
watch
for
it.
the
The
fans.
boys loved it.
It was for the
Loved it.
fans. So
Yeah, I
if
just haven't watched
you,
it yet.
if I myself did not play the games, but I watched other people play the games and was familiar enough with the lore that I was a little bit of a fan because it was just so weird and it had that kind of theme park conspiracy vibes to it. And that's why I enjoyed the genre and the fandom and all of that.
It was a nightmare version of Chuck E. Cheese with me growing up. And I was like, oh,
Yes,
I'm here for this.
that's why it interests me. But like I said, like a lot of these movies, filmmakers are getting smart now. I've noticed a shift in the last couple of years that movies are being made more for fans, which they should be made for in the first place. And yeah, so that's where we're at. But
all right. Yeah, so yeah, I do feel that's pretty much going to be the case for it. But all right, I think we can wrap up the show tonight. This has been fun getting the whole group back together again. I think that was a good discussion as well. So on this outro, we will let you know if you want to talk to us online, you can find us over on Twitter or X if it makes Steven happy, at Zenspath Podcast. You can find out when the shows are going up there. We'll have some of our shorts and so other stuff up there as well, where you can message us. You can find us on our Discord, which is going to be bit.ly/Zenspath Discord. Join us up over there. And we post stuff up there all the time, talking. We do multiplayer stuff all the time. You know, you can join us in those things as well. Oh, Rachel, what's up?
Oh, I was just saying, I was just yawning. I was gonna say maybe
maybe
I'll kick someone else's butt in Mario Kart. Who knows?
It was a draw.
Yeah, we were pretty well matched. Once I get back in practice, I'll leave you in the dust though.
Yeah, we'll see. And then if you're watching this video, please feel free to give us a thumbs up over on YouTube, subscribe, share this with friends, leave comments. Like, we love to get that stuff and talk with you guys. And it helps the algorithm get us out there for people. I'm going to get back on doing more of the shorts this week. I've had to take a break on that the last 2 weeks, which has caused our numbers to go down a little bit, but I will work on that. If you are listening to or watching this and you'd like to listen to it, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts,
wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Look for the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, and we will be there. Subscribe, share us with friends, leave us a review. 5 stars would be great. That helps us out for wherever you're at. And then for the video part, it's youtube.com/ZenspathCom, ZenspathCom. All right, I've been your host, Jeremy Powers, joined once again by Steven, Chris, and Rachel in episode 124, and we're out. Peace.
P&I Parker.
Why are you such a dick?